Hello friends, we have discussing from since many lectures unit 3rd, that is company audit. In the today's session we are going to see and discuss joint audit. I welcome you once again, myself Dr. Supriya Chaudhary. Let us see some introduction around the word what is happening about the audit and audit. Joint audit is a proven means of facilitating the emergence of diverse audit sector, and in the case of France has already led to the creation of the least concentrated audit market of any major economy. If undertaken in a spirit of collaboration, it can reinforce governance arrangements on the conduct of audits and deliver real improvements in audit quality. Now let us understand the concept of audit. The concept of joint audit. A joint audit is an audit of financial statements of any entity by two or more auditors appointed with the objective of issuing the audit report. Such auditors are described as joint auditors. See, what is the meaning of joint audit? It is audit of an entity but two or more auditors are appointed. The objective of audit is definitely to issue audit report, but it is jointly prepared. So therefore it is called as joint audit. In a joint audit, two separate audit firms are appointed by a company to express a joint opinion on its financial statement. It is fundamentally different from a dual or shared audit, whereby one audit firm or sometimes more audit parts of a group and reports to another audit firm, which ultimately signs off on the group audit. Statutory joint auditors must belong to separate audit firms. So it is mandatory that if joint auditors are appointed on a post of statutory auditor, then they should not belong to single firm. From separate audit firms they should be. Joint audits usually involve two audit firms, but a small number of companies have decided voluntarily to appoint three audit firms to perform their joint audit. So it may be more than that of. Now let us see some of the benefits of joint audit. From company's perspective, joint audit enables companies to benefit from technical expertise of more than one firm. So it is the benefit that you can get technical help of expertise from two or more firms. Second is it encourages cooperation and competition between joint auditors, resulting in improved quality of service. So because of cooperation and competition among two auditors and audit firms, the quality of service may improve. It leads to a real debate on technical issues and offers additional scope for benchmarking. So, because of joint audit, a healthy debate, a real debate on technical issues may arise, and also it will offer some additional scope of benchmarking. It allows for a smooth and sequence rotation of audit firms where appropriate, and retains knowledge and understanding of group operations, which minimizes disruption caused when one audit firm is changed. So because of two audit firms, there will be smooth and sequence rotation of the audit firms, and also it will retain knowledge and understanding of group operations. It will minimize the disruption of one audit firm. Suppose if change, then another firm will be there. What are the requirements? The engagement of partner and other key members of the engagement team from each of the joint auditors shall be involved in the planning of audit. The joint auditors shall jointly establish an overall audit strategy that sets the scope, timing, and direction of the audit, and that guides the development of audit plan. So these are the two requirements. There is a necessity of partner engagement and key members engagement team, and for that purpose there is a need of cooperation among the two audit firms for better planning of audit, and joint auditors shall jointly establish an overall audit strategy that sets the scope, timing, direction of audit, and that guides the development of audit plan. Prior to the commencement of the audit, the joint auditors shall discuss and develop joint audit plan. So, for better audit, there is a need of plan. So, for joint audit plan, both the auditors have to sit and discuss and develop a joint audit plan. In developing the joint audit plan, the auditor shall consider some of the points. Identify division of audit areas and common audit areas. So division of audit areas and common audit areas among the joint auditors is required for defining the scope of audit of each joint auditor. So division of work will be better, and areas, suppose according to the specialization and expertise, areas can be divided. So it will help to define the scope of work of each auditor. Ascertain the reporting objective of the engagement to plan the timing of audit. Ascertain the reporting objective of the engagement to plan the timing of audit and the nature of communication required. So there is a need that reporting objectives must be ascertained regarding planning, timing of audit, and nature of communication required. Consider and communicate among all joint auditors the factors that in their professional judgment are significant in directing the engagement team's effort. So their judgment should be professional, significant, and directing the ways of engagement of team's effort. Also, while joint audit planning, they should consider the results of preliminary engagement activities and where applicable, whether knowledge gained on other or similar engagements performed earlier by the respective engagement partners for the entity is relevant. So the result must be considered regarding preliminary engagement activities, whether knowledge is gained regarding performance also. Ascertain the nature, timing, and extent of resources necessary to perform the engagement. So the nature, timing, and extent of resources must be seen. Find out which are necessary for performing the engagement of both auditors, both joint auditors. At this stage, the risk of material misstatement need to be considered and assessed by each of the joint auditors and shall be communicated to other joint auditors. So, at this stage there is a risk of material misstatement which needs to be considered and assessed by each joint auditor, and it should be communicated to other joint auditors. It should be documented whether pertaining to overall financial statements level or to the area of allocation among the joint auditors. The joint auditors shall discuss and document the nature, timing, and the extent of audit procedures. The joint auditors should discuss regarding documents, nature, timing, extent of audit procedures for common and specific areas of audit to be performed by each of the joint auditors. same shall be communicated though charged to the governors. The joint auditor shall obtain common engagement letter and common management representation letter, because jointly they are working. So they should obtain common engagement letter and common management representation letter, because both are representing. After identification and allocation of work among the joint auditors, the work allocation document shall be signed by all the joint auditors. So, work allocation document shall be signed by all joint auditors, and same shall be communicated to those charged with the governance of the entity. Now see, regarding audit conclusion and reporting, because here up to now we have seen the single auditor, but now here today we are discussing joint auditors. So regarding audit conclusion and reporting, both auditing firms or auditors must be involved. The joint auditors are required to issue common audit report. See, this thing is commonly reported. However, where the joint auditors are in a disagreement with regard to opinion on any matter to be covered by the audit report, they shall express their opinion in a separate audit report. Suppose there is a disagreement, then auditor should separately express his opinion in a separate audit report. A joint auditor is not bound by the views of the majority of the joint auditors regarding the opinion or matters to be covered in the audit report. It is not binding over him or the firm, and shall express opinion formed by the said joint auditor in a separate audit report in case of disagreement. In such circumstances, the audit report issued by the auditors shall make a reference to the separate audit report issued by the other joint auditor. Further, separate audit report shall also make a reference to the audit report issued by other joint auditors. So what does it mean? In a simple way, if there is a disagreement, then joint auditors should report separately. But while issuing the report, they should make a reference that another joint auditor's report is attached or referred. Such reference shall be made under the heading Other Matter paragraph as per revised standard 706, emphasis of matter paragraphs and other matter paragraphs in the independent auditor's report. So they should separately mention the reference. Each joint auditor is entitled to assume that the other joint auditors have carried out their part of the audit work, and the work has actually been performed in accordance with the standards on auditing issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So joint auditors have carried out their part of audit work, and the work should be according to the standards issued by ICAI. It is not necessary for joint auditor to review the work performed by other joint auditors or perform any test in order to ascertain whether the work has actually been performed in such a manner or not. So it is not necessary for any joint director to assess the other joint auditor's work, whether it is performed or not. The other joint auditors have brought to said joint auditor's notice any departure from applicable financial reporting framework. So if there is any departure from any other joint auditor and it is came to the notice of the joint auditor, then a significant observation that are relevant to their responsibilities noticed in the course of the audit. In a situation where there is a more than one opinion to be expressed by the joint auditors, due to disagreement among them, it is important to note that each joint auditor with a different opinion would be required to issue separate joint audit report. So suppose there is a more than one opinion, then they should separately issue the report. The reference to the other joint auditor's report should be required to made to by each such joint auditor in their respective audit report. So reference is must. We have discussed in the earlier slide. For example, whether an entity has 3 joint auditors and all of them have disagreement, and this leads to 3 different set of opinion, then each of them needs to issue a separate audit report. Further, each of them needs to include an other matter paragraph in their respective audit report, which is compulsory. Other matter paragraph, it refers to the separate joint auditor's separate report. So this was about joint audit and joint auditors work, how they perform. They perform usually like common auditors. They examine, assess books of accounts, vouch, inspect, verify, and all those things which come under the audit, they do. They do prepare their own report, but they need to jointly submit it. But if suppose in some situation, in some circumstances, it is observed that they have different opinion from each other, or there is a disagreement of opinion, they are required to issue separate audit reports. But in such a case, if they issue separate audit reports, then they have to mention compulsory the other matter paragraph where it is made a reference regarding separate audit report by the other joint auditor. Okay, so this was the topic of today's discussion. Stay continued to the next lecture. Thank you very much.